Welcome to Politics Done Right on KPFT. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is the progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. Give me a call at 713-526-5738. That is 713-526-KPFT. Remember, you can also send me a tweet to EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is politics done right.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Well, folks, welcome to one more edition of Politics Done Right. I'm Egberto Willies, your host. Thank you very much for spending this 1 hour with me. I am so happy to be here with you, but at the same time, I'm very sad of what's going on in here, and that's why we're going to have the kind of program that we're going to have today. But beforehand, how is Shannon doing?
I'm doing great. Great to be with you, Egberto.
Absolutely. Don't we have a program?
Oh, we do.
And don't you have a new person that's going to be helping out?
Oh, yeah. Rachel's here with us.
Hello.
Hi, Rachel.
Hey,
How are
Rachel.
you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
So far, so good. But folks, look here. I know we're going to have a whole lot of calls today, so I want to kind of get with the program rather quickly. So I'm going to say, let's get busy. Look, how many more times will Politics Done Right have a show like this? We still have a show like this. We'll have shows like this until it's no longer needed. Philando Castile is the latest casualty of our police one day after Alton Sterling was gunned down by yet another unhinged cop. Folks, those cops are our alter egos, so don't think it's the cops. After all, our police is a reflection of whom? It's a reflection of us all. They are our alter ego. The difference with them is they have what? The power to kill, the power to maim, the power to control. Look, today we'll talk about Philando Castile and Alton Sterling's murder by cop and its implication. What can we do? What must we do? As I perused Facebook last night, I saw a video of one of Houston's political figures addressing a group of young people protesting police brutality. I watched her give sound advice to these young folks, just like she did with those of us who were at Occupy Wall Street in Tranquility Park back in 2011. I don't even know if you remember that.
I do remember that.
Okay, when the police started to move in.
That's true.
Our special guest today is former City Councilwoman, former University of Houston track star, former Survivor participant, current TV star of the reality show Sisters-in-Law, current Houston Independent School Board member. I'm getting tired. And attorney Jolanda Jones. How you doing, my dear?
I'm fantastic considering the circumstances.
Well, you know why I called you up as soon as I saw you out there. I had to get you in here because one of the things I always say about this program is I want this program to be constructive. We're not going to be here just bashing police because that's not what I do. I don't bash police. I want constructive criticisms of what we need to do to move forward. But I have to thank two online donors to Politics Done Right. It's not Fund Drive yet, but we're getting donations. So, folks, keep bringing those donations in because Politics Done Right and the entire KPFT needs you to keep the only progressive station on air. So you got to be a part of this family, folks. So I want to thank Luis Davis from Los Angeles, California became a new member. Thank you for your generous donation. Judon Boney is a returning member from Houston, Texas. We all know who that is. Thank you for your generous donation.
Thanks, Judon.
Absolutely. Before I get into the program, though, I want to remind all our listeners that KPFT is a bastion of intelligent voices and programs. As a political activist myself, my favorites are The Monitor with whom? The Monitor with whom?
Mark Babawi.
Think Wing Radio with whom?
Mike Honig.
On Mondays at 9 p.m. And we forgot to say Mark Babawi's show is at 7 p.m. on Mondays. Partisan Gridlock, the show that you do.
With Jeff Berg. That is on Fridays at 3 p.m.
There you go. Jazz Latino, Afro-Cuban Latin Jazz. And its very best, hosted by Juan Flores. Mondays at 10 p.m. And of course, there's Asamblea Popular. Thursday at 7 p.m. on HD3. And of course, again, I forgot to get from them who their special guest is going to be. So, folks, check out our full schedule at kpft.org, where you can find programming from music to politics and medicine to the eclectic. KPFT is a listener-supported public community radio station. So please remember that if you like what you hear, visit kpft.org and ensure we remain a strong, viable community radio station that provides news programming and information not influenced by whom? Not influenced by whom? The corporatocracy. So, folks, this is KPFT 90.1 FM, Houston, Texas. We want you to hear our voices. We want you to hear thoughts. We want to hear your words, so you bring it on. Hashtag politics done right. Twitter, Egberto Willies. But do you know what time it is?
It's time for the weekly blog post.
Okay, this is serious, and we really need to start getting into this business. But anyway, the title of the blog today is Our Police is But the Reflection of Our Alter Ego. What do I mean? Are police doing what we want to, or are they really doing what we want or what they need to do? Anyhow, here it goes. And by the way, in case there are any cops police officers listening to the show, the last time we had a show like this, we had like 2 or 3 officers call in. I would love for you to call in as well, because you are the part of the solution and all the things that we want to get done. So any cops listening out there, call 713-526-5738. Again, that number is 713-526-5738. Look, police continue to kill people of color at disproportionate levels because they are implicitly the alter ego of the country with the power to execute. All Americans aren't racist, just like all police aren't racist. The problem is, for those that are, they have the authority to act on their prejudice. Alton Sterling, a black man in Baton Rouge, was gunned down in cold blood by police officers. Several videos show that Sterling was neither clearly a threat nor was he threatening. Sterling had one problem. He was a black man in a police altercation that should not have occurred. Sterling was selling CDs as he has for a long time. A 911 caller reported that Sterling had a gun in his pocket that he brandished when approached by a 911 caller. Baton Rouge cops Blaine Salmoni and Howie Lake responded to the call in front of Abdullah Mufli's Strip Food Mart. Now, soon after the police slammed Sterling onto the ground. From the video, it was evident both officers had Sterling pinned down. One can hear one officer shout "gun." Given the visible action in the video, it is clear, again, listen well, it is clear that the shout was for the sake of legal protection for the subsequent shooting. Some will say the cops feared for their lives because Sterling allegedly had a gun. Ironically, Louisiana is a lenient open carry state. Open carry makes police officer duties much more complicated, I agree, but it is their responsibility to discern friend from foe. The police, a black man with a gun, is our foe. Our laws are supposedly colorblind. The converse is not true when executing many of our laws. And then, the day after the killing of Alton Sterling, another unhinged police officer in St. Paul's suburb of Falcon Heights, Minnesota, killed Philando Castile. Folks, this one made me cry. I don't care. Yes, I'm a man. I'm a macho man, all that good stuff. But this one made me cry. I cried when I saw her video. Yolanda, I mean, this is real stuff. Anyway, an innocent black man. According to Castile's fiancé, Castile had a concealed weapon permit. He disclosed that to the cop, or she disclosed that to the cop.
Where's the NRA like outraged
Tell me
that the police officer shot someone who went through the whatever it takes to get a concealed handgun? I respectfully submit to you it's because he's black, but carry on.
But you know what? I'm glad that you actually said the NRA, because
where they at? Where you at, NRA?
I forgot to put that into the blog, and that is something that I should.
I mean, he was exercising his Second Amendment right, the NRA.
But he wasn't even doing that. He just had
staying from the mic
to do that. Yes, sorry. But I was just told to stay by the mic by you know whom. I'm staying at the mic. Yes.
But his girlfriend said that he told the officer he had a concealed handgun, a concealed weapon, and that's what the NRA asked for you to do.
Exactly.
And I respectfully submit to you that Mr. Castile been white, the NRA. Actually, I think they would have had issues because they support the police and they support white people. So I think that they would have been conflicted, but he did exactly what he was supposed to do.
See, I don't think there would have been a problem really, because again, we have enough videos to show how justice work depending on who it is. There was a video on, and I'm going to continue with the blog of the week, but I just had to get this one in here. There was this video where we actually see a guy beating up on the police officers.
Yeah, I put that on my Facebook as well.
Is
and
that
he
you?
was whooping him, right?
Is that you who did
that? Was
that?
Me. He was whooping him. He was running.
I'm going to have to make sure
everything.
that my feed somehow has a whole lot of your stuff in there. You must be some sort of a Facebook fiend.
I'm a super progressive.
Okay, all right, great. Let me continue. Let me continue the black, then we'll get busy with the calls. And callers, stay with me. And by the way, this is a call-in show, 713-526-5738. Anyhow, according to Castile's fiancée, Castile had a concealed weapons permit. He disclosed that to the cop. The police officer asked him for his ID and then shot him as he was in the process of getting his ID. This incident is not unlike the incident in South Carolina where an out-of-control officer shot up LeVar Jones, a black man complying with his request to get his license. Philando Castile was a law-abiding citizen going about his business. But again, he was in the wrong place at the right time with the wrong hue. Like every black man, like every person of color, like any clear-eyed person, I can empathize with Alton Sterling, Philando Castile, LeVar Jones, and the dozens of innocent murdered Americans of color.
Hundreds, thousands.
What did I say?
Not
Dozens.
enough.
Okay. I'll leave that up to you. But as you can see, I have a good progressive radical in the room with me today. Like every black man or person of color, I am Alton Sterling today. I am Philando Castile today. What happened to those guys? There's nothing. Nobody knows I have a radio show. Nobody knows I have a business. Nobody knows any of that. And that's one of the things I want to talk to you about, because I was happy you mentioned something to that effect when you were speaking to those young people. That is very important. Anyway, continuing. A few years ago, immediately after, actually I skipped a line. Let me get back in the right place. Like every black man or person of color, I am Alton Sterling. You see, when that cop sees us, he views us through his distorted lens, the reflection of our who we are in society. A few years ago, immediately after the Trayvon Martin murder, I wrote the piece, I Was Trayvon Martin the Day I Came to America. I have that linked in the blog. Read that piece. It got a whole lot of coverage, including on CNN. I wrote about adapting to America as a black man. All black men acquiesce to the fallacy of being that perennial suspect to many people, that continuing danger to more. Extricating prejudice from every citizen is impossible. Given that a police force inherently mimics the body that it is from, one must expect that many officers carry their biases with them. Laws and training must be used to mitigate racial biases and prejudice. Police officers have consistently got off with murdering innocent, mostly people of color. I want to stop there because my white friends and my white listeners and all of that, it's important that you realize this. When we understand, because I wrote a blog, there was a time when a whole bunch of folks were complaining about a guy in North Carolina who got shot up, a white guy who they accidentally went into his home and they shot him up. The media never carried it because it wasn't vogue then. My blog carried that about anybody who is offended or anybody who is aggrieved by the police officer, I make sure to do as well. What I'm hoping for in programs like this is that everybody as well would do their part, because you'll hear from the rest of the blog. Laws and training must be used to mitigate racial biases and prejudice. Police officers have consistently got off with murdering innocent, mostly people of color. Grand juries, your peers, everyone's peers have a utopian belief that cops are inherently different than the community as a whole. As such, they're given a pass.
They also think that collateral damage is okay.
Exactly, depending on who the collateral damage is. The murders they commit are not murders because of their state of mind. They feared for their lives. That's what they say. Well, if we have a community, a society, a country that irrationally fears people of color more so than others, think people of color are less valuable than others, and unhinged murdering police officers are rarely convicted, then nothing will change. Police officers have no incentive to rethink their prejudices and biases. In fact, that is why nothing has changed.
Now, I'll also say this really quickly,
Yes.
Egberto, that district attorney offices across the country and across Texas also wait for Supreme Court cases to come out or Court of Criminal Appeal cases to come out, and they get the magic language, and then they teach the officers the things that got that officer off.
To get off.
So like when furtive movements was like the lingo, all of a sudden in every offense report, you heard the police officers putting furtive movements when hell, they didn't even know what that was.
What was before.
Right.
Exactly.
And so they learn what gets you off, and then they learn to mimic that. They literally have legal education teaching them what the magic words are.
And that is what...
That's what the officer did.
But also, that is what I liked what you said to the folks out there, because when you told them... well, we'll talk about that right after.
Okay,
I have one more sentence to go. And this is the last sentence of the blog. Then I'm going to open up the calls after I have a little back and forth with Jolanda here. Do you want the police to change? Do you want all lives to matter? Really? Do you think Black lives matter? Look in the mirror. It is all up to whom? To you. Folks, this is a call-in show. The telephone number is 713-526-5738. Again, that number is 713-526-5738. Jolanda.
I'd like to say one thing that you brought up about, our white friends and our allies.
Right.
I believe that silence is tacit support, right? One, so I believe that our allies have an obligation to speak.
Yes.
Because if they don't speak, then people just think it's a black thing. One, but think about it. If somebody in your family died, and I came to the funeral, and I said, you know what? But somebody in my family died too. You would think, okay, what's wrong with you? This ain't about your family member. This is about my family member.
Right.
And so for all the people that want to say that white people are discriminated against as well, we're not saying they're not.
Right.
But what we are saying is we get discriminated against way more. And when they discriminate against us, they kill us and they give us cases and they make our achievement of the American dream much more difficult.
They make it pretty much an impossibility for many. Because one of the things that's done, look, first of all, tell us a little bit about yesterday. And folks, the phones are ringing and I'm coming to you guys right now. I just want to ask one thing. Yesterday, you saw a live feed with some kids or young people.
I did.
And then tell us what you did.
So I was at home. I live in 3rd Ward. I saw a live feed from a friend of mine named Michi Brown, and I saw the MLK statue. Well, I was one of the people that helped get the MLK statue in McGregor Park. So I'm like, dude, that's around the corner from my house, and I need to stand in solidarity with Alton Sterling, because injustice anywhere is an affront to justice everywhere. So I drove over there. And as I was listening, I heard a lot of angry people. Right. And I think that we are rightfully angry, right? Because they're murdering us. And they're not just murdering men, they're murdering children, they're murdering women. I mean, the story goes on and on and on. And so they wanted to go do violent things, and I wasn't advocating for that, because I know the criminal justice system is waiting for you when you do that. The police are waiting for you to do that.
That's what I needed to hear.
And I know that because I'm a criminal defense lawyer, so they're waiting for us to do something. Right. So we're perpetuating what they believe we are. And so what I wanted for the people there to do was to just refocus their energy, right? And just put some stuff out there, because I know people are frustrated with the political process. I get it. And it's hard to make change, but the problem is people don't understand how the political system is structured. And if you don't understand how the political system is structured, if you don't deal with the whole structure, you're never going to get the relief that you're seeking. And so my goal yesterday was to just help them understand how the structure was structured so that they could affect change, and then we could get people in office who would actually pass laws that don't, destroy our interests, but help our interests. And we can do it. We just don't know how. And I was trying to share from the inside looking out, because most times people don't have privy to elected officials. Like, for example, there were no elected officials there yesterday except for me. And I tend to always be the only elected official.
In activities like this.
Well, yeah. In activities that are uncomfortable.
Exactly.
I'm the only one who will tell people on the outside, about the little secret world we have on the inside, because I believe transparency is important. So that's what I was out there. I was just trying to help them understand, look, if you want to make change, this is what we need to do.
Now, the terminologies that you were using, the thought process that was going through, I wasn't only watching what you're saying. I was actually watching the audience around you.
Okay.
And one of the things that I strongly believe in is that we have to, I don't like to use the word educate a lot of times because sometimes that comes across as condescending, but illustrate, if you will. One of the things you're doing is you're trying to get them into change, not telling them what they were doing was wrong, but how to best do what they needed to get done. And I think that is a very important thing to do. And most importantly, they were listening.
Well, yeah.
And that there's a difference. There's a difference between hearing and listening. When I was watching the videos and I started looking at the individuals in the video, I said, they're listening. And I said, okay, there is somebody who had the right narrative for these group of kids, or
millennials.
Young people, millennials.
They're millennials.
Millennials, who many of them were ready to go crazy, and they were listening, and they were saying, okay. So I think more of us, I'm talking about Houstonians and folks around the country, need to really hold the hands of our young people to get them to do that. There was no riots or anything like that in a lot of places. I mean, that it is important that we do things like that. But beforehand, we have some callers that's been waiting for a long time. So let's go ahead and take line número uno, por favor. Okay, we're talking to Bob. How you doing, Bob?
Hey, Bob.
I'm fine. How you doing?
Talk to me, my friend. Talk to me.
Well, first of all, I just want to comment on Yolanda's comments. I'm sure you told them that there is a reason why we have city elections in May instead of in November on otherwise election years. And that's because nobody votes in those elections, even though you might have a majority city. Since the voter turnout is so low, which it wouldn't be on the year of a presidential election, they can keep their buddies in office merely by having the election at a time when nobody thinks about voting.
Right, but city elections are not held in May. City elections are held in November. Primary elections are held in May.
Well, are they held on election years?
Well, every year is an election year. It just depends on what's being elected.
By that definition, surely.
But I mean,
in
places
I have lived, the actual city elections are in May.
No, not here. City elections are in November of odd-numbered years.
You can tell I don't live in the city.
Okay, well, that's when they are.
But folks, hold on a second, Bob. I'm gonna come back to you 1 minute. I just want to tell
that's
folks.
Politics. See.
No, but what we just did is we just enlightened a whole bunch of Houstonians when our elections are. That's why I like to do these kinds of programs. But folks, this is a call-in show. The telephone number is 713-526-5738. I am actually surprised that this line wasn't blowing up over these, like the last time, over these last two, the last type of events we had like this, because this is serious. This is serious what is actually occurring in the country. But anyway, Bob, is there anything else you have to say before I go to the other caller?
My main point was, we have to, the original comment was, what can we do? We have to get over this mythology that racism is learned. I think that racism of any kind is actually a natural evolutionary reaction to someone different than yourself. And I used by way of example the fact that they have determined that humans, even at a very early age, are afraid of snakes. People are afraid of people who are different from them. What our society does so successfully is it reinforces that natural reaction so that people will continue to act in accordance with that inclination.
I'm actually going to have to respectfully disagree with you, Bob, because I have seen kids play with each other. Black kids, white kids, they play with each other. And it is not until they go home to their parents and their parents start making comments about stuff that they start adopting those. I have never, and I babysat a lot. One of my biggest supporters on Facebook is this young white, well, she's not young anymore, but she was my sister's age, so she's in her 40s now, in her early 40s now, but we didn't see color. We absolutely didn't see color. Even when I was at Elsick High School, which was predominantly white then, I'm friends with people from there then, we didn't see, we didn't.
Well, let me just say one thing.
I would respectfully suggest to you that the kids that are that way are reinforced against the prejudice from the cradle.
And then I think that goes without saying, right? In other words, I don't see there's not much difference. I just think it wasn't expressed right. Here's what I mean by this. Kids are scared of snakes, or we are generally scared of snakes because, yes, we have no familiarity with snakes. The same occurs with different people that look differently. If there's no familiarity with those people, yes, you're likely to feel different. But the natural thing is if they all grew up together, and as you just said, Bob, from cradle to grave, then there's no difference. I can tell you that I grew up in Panama, right? And this is kind of interesting. There was a couple of a few white folks that was in our school, and the truth of the matter is, just when I came to the States, and this, by the way, I'm not trying to say I don't know racism from Panama, because there's racism all over the place. But what I'm saying, because these folks grew up with us in our group, and they did everything with us, we didn't notice some of these folks were white until we came to the States, and then there was this great separation. Okay, so. That is one thing that I say. I mean, I don't disagree with your snake analogy. What I do say, however, is that people, I think what you were trying to say is that people like familiar things.
Well, I don't know about but they're not as afraid of familiar.
Well, they're not afraid
as they are of different things.
Yeah, like or afraid or whatever. Anything else you want to say, my brother?
But my underlying point there is, and you just said it, is what we need to do to combat this issue is to start at the very youngest age we can to reinforce people's lack of hatred and discourage any kind of fear or hatred they might have.
Right, but I don't know if you noticed something else I said in the blog that I think is rather important, and it goes as follows. I know you personally, Bob. Right, I know you're a good guy, all that kind of stuff. But if you were some sort of a racist guy or something of that sort, I cannot expect to be able to extricate that out of you. Okay, I mean, we can try to mitigate that in a lot of different ways. What we have in America that you don't have in a whole lot of places is our laws. Okay, and we can make sure that our laws are enforced. I don't need you to like me for you to treat me lawfully, and that's what this whole police issue is about. Men not being treated rightfully. Men
and women and children.
I'm sorry. When I say I need to that thanks for correcting me, because I have to be more
I was about to correct you for what that's worth.
But you generally don't have to correct me on that part, but today for some reason I said
was
men.
Feeling some kind of way.
But anyhow, thank you for calling, Bob. I'm told that I have to go to weather, okay? And the phones are ringing. Keep on calling, guys. The phones you still have a couple lines open. 713-526-5738.
All right, we're going to take a brief look at our weather around town. Mainly, it's currently 99 degrees and partly cloudy skies here in the heart of Montrose, with Houston humidity around 50%. It feels like 109 out there. Mainly clear skies tonight, a low of 79 degrees. Mixture of clouds and sunshine in the forecast for Friday, and a 20% chance of precipitation, high of 98. And there's a heat advisory in effect for our coastal communities through 8 p.m. tonight. That's including Brazoria, Chambers, Galveston, Jackson, and Matagorda counties. And let's take a brief look at our roadways. A heavy truck accident on the East Freeway inbound is blocking the left lane and exit ramp to the North Freeway. Traffic's not bad at the moment there. On the North Loop eastbound at the Hardy Toll Road, there's an accident blocking 2 center lanes to the left shoulder, and that's backing up traffic to Shepherd. A lot of the traffic is moving around on that right lane and shoulder at the moment. Accident cleared on the Southwest Freeway inbound at Chimney Rock. Traffic remains backed up to West Park in that area. That's a look at your Houston area weather and traffic. I'm Shannon McCurchie, and you are listening to KPFT Houston 90.1 and Politics Done Right with Egberto Willies.
Muchísimas gracias, folks. Keep on calling. We had a little issue with the phone lines, but they're working just fine now. 713-526-5738. Let's go to line número dos. Line número dos. Scott, talk to me.
Hey, Scott, you there?
Scott, you're there.
Hello?
Yes, Scott.
Yes. I just read that July 5th of this year marked the death of the rule of law in this country.
Okay.
Yes.
I think you're trying to change the subject on me with the Hillary Clinton emails.
I am, wait until I tell you. Okay, this happened to be about the Comey report on Hillary's emails. Now, this was Facebook.
Scott.
I thought it was the war on drugs, but it could just as easily be the subject we are talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay, Scott.
Yeah.
I understand, but I'm trying to keep today's, because of the incidences, the subject on the 2 murders. So is there anything you want to offer for that?
This is a very contrary to the rule of law.
Which one? About Hillary Clinton?
No. These police killings.
Of course, that's what we're saying. You're absolutely right, sir.
So when these conservatives talk about the rule of law, wave it in their face. Tell them that.
I get where you're going. Yes.
Don't just ignore them.
You know,
I certainly did not ignore this. I brought up my one of my big beefs, and he may tell me that it's off the subject, but it's not. He introduced the death of the rule of the law as his subject. That is a broad category. It includes these police killings, includes the war on drugs, may not really include Hillary's emails.
You know what, Scott? I was trying to get you on point, and you got me, okay? Because you're so right. Thank you, my friend. You have a good one, okay?
Okay.
Take care, my buddy. Okay, let's go to line number 5. Let's go to Chief Lightfoot. Come on in.
Yes. In America, there's 2 types of laws.
Mm-hmm.
One for black folks that don't get justice, and those for white folks with money that get justice.
Yes, sir.
Understand? I'm 59 years old.
Mm-hmm.
I was born in 5th Ward.
Mm-hmm.
Moved out of City Ward in 1967.
Yes, sir.
When I got up to the driving, I would always get pulled over every time by the police. And one day I was going down the time my father, who was a well-known pastor, was riding with me. I told him that every day I would get pulled over by the same cop every day.
Right.
So one day he was riding with me, and the same cop pulled up behind me. This time, the officer was in the car, he got out, and all. He said, "Is the car come over?" He said, my old man said, "What seems to be the problem, officer? I mean, why are you always putting over my son for no reason?" And after that, he kind of got messy with it.
Right.
But my point is, America has 2 sides. They treat you one way in the criminal system, and then the other way. And, if you don't have money or you don't have power, really.
I tell you what, Chief, I get the point that you're really trying to make, and I understand it, and I'm going to ask Jolanda to sort of address it in this manner. But for now, thank you for calling, my friend. We have to go to the other calls. We're filling up, but you keep listening, you keep calling, okay, my brother?
I mean, you ever said I could Yolanda, watch that. I wish I'd had that when I had the problem with the police.
No problem.
Well, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
I actually came here to talk specifically about the 2 men that were murdered, and I think one of the struggles that we have as a people who are historically discriminated against is when people marginalize or try to make it seem like we did something. I mean, all of this. He had a gun. First of all, he did not reach for his gun. If you've paid attention to anything, the store owner said that Mr. Sterling actually had permission to sell CDs, that he always sold CDs, that Mr. Sterling did not antagonize the police, he did not wield his gun, and that if there was someone out there who was doing something with a gun, it was not Mr. Sterling. But for whatever reason, people are trying to look past that. Then I wonder what the officer did when he dug in his pocket. I mean, I don't know if he put something there or pulled something out, but it was problematic to me. And then I was trying to figure out, why did the officer say when the guy that shot him, I believe it was the guy that shot him, he was like, "Fuck," he was, "I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I am so sorry." But he said that, right? But my thing is this: did he say that because he was upset? He certainly wasn't upset with Mr. Sterling. Mr. Sterling's laying dead or dying. Clearly, anybody could see that he was laying dead or dying, and he's still holding a gun on him. And when people have negative perceptions of people, when people believe a whole people are innately and inherently less than them or subhuman, then you don't give them benefits of the doubt. So you can have somebody go and shoot up a movie theater in Colorado, and you bring that kid out alive. You can have somebody literally fight 2 police officers, punch them, run, get away, and you can arrest him without causing any harm to him. And so my question for everyone out there who wants to try to find a reason to blame the victim, if that was your son, I mean, even if he was selling illegal CDs, which hasn't been proved to me, it's not a death penalty offense. Since when is a traffic stop a death penalty offense? And nobody seems to be upset with that, well, except for people who look like that. And so it's very frustrating because rather than people look at the hurt and the truisms that we actually have to live through, they're trying to find justification for people that are just flat out evil.
One of the reasons that I'm touching on this subject is specifically because we know what the problem is already. In other words, we know that like I said in the beginning of the blog, how many of these shows I'm going to do. And what I'm trying to urge people to start looking at, it's the way I ended the blog, is look in the mirror. Because the police is a reflection of what you're seeing out there, just folks that have a gun and have the authority to use that gun. So what I think all of us have to do, yourself, myself, and everybody else have to do, is we have to stop just talking about what the problem is and start saying what the solution. And folks, I'm coming to all of you on the line right now, what the solution needs to be. Why I asked you to come here is I saw the beginnings of that yesterday in the speech that you gave. I don't know if you remember the speech you gave.
I do. It's about changing the laws
and it's
understanding
important.
The political structure.
Exactly. And that is so much more important than us coming out here and repeating what the problem is. Because like I said, I like I told Bob as well, I am not interested in changing people's heart for this specific issue now because this issue is immediate. In other words, tomorrow there will be 4 more black men, Hispanic men killed by cops. Changing somebody's heart doesn't happen in 2 days, but changing the laws can happen quickly to ensure that
it happens every 2 years.
You understand what I'm saying, though?
Yeah.
It can happen. It'll happen a lot quicker than somebody's heart.
Right,
okay?
Absolutely.
So let's go to line number 3. And folks, I'm getting to all of you, so stay on with me. Line number 3. Come on in, Donald.
Hi, Berto. How are you doing?
All right. How you doing, my friend?
I happened to hop in the car and just catch the middle of the caller talking about snakes and voices. And I had something I wanted to say about that.
Go ahead, sir.
I think he's looking at the problem all wrong. I think it's totally the wrong way to look at it. It's not a matter of familiarity. It's a matter of instinct. The human animal grew up in a world where where there was safety in numbers.
Mm-hmm.
To be able to quickly identify your tribe versus someone else was a survival value.
I did read that. Yes, you're right, sir.
And like Neil deGrasse Tyson said in the Cosmos Show,
right?
If humankind has a superpower, it's pattern recognition.
And that is not one of the complex parts of the medulla, I guess. So go ahead.
Yeah, really. So the entire human animal is tuned to quickly identify and separate us versus them. And them is everybody else that doesn't look like me, think like me, talk like me, walk like me, believe like me. And there is survival value in it. The problem is that in a non-caveman world, once society takes, once we become a global society, these survival values are no longer valuable.
That is so true. So my thing for you, Donald, remember what I always preach about on my show. We all have to be the media. You're enlightened, right? You're an enlightened man. These are the kinds of discussions we ought to have. When you see things throughout Facebook, Twitter, or even on the news, these are the things you have to talk about to enlighten those that don't quite yet have it like you.
Especially people who look like you with these patterns of recognition.
Well, you're making an assumption about Donald. How do you know?
No, I'm saying just no, because I can sit, like, for example,
Right.
I was talking to people yesterday. I wasn't on film when I was talking to people,
Right.
where some people were mad at some white allies, and so I had to check people
Right.
who look like me and say, hey man, the civil rights movement never would have happened if we
Without
didn't have
white
white
people.
allies.
Absolutely.
So we can't be mad at them, and we can't not let them speak because they're our allies. So yes, so I was not.
Jolanda, that is very important. That is very important. That's a very important time. Hey, Donald, we fill up on the lines. Thank you for calling. Keep listening, and I'll talk to you the other way around. Okay, brother?
Thank you for taking my
Donald,
call.
for
Take care,
calling
buddy.
in. We appreciate you.
Bye-bye.
Eugene, come on in. Numero uno, number one. Eugene, come on in, my brother.
Yeah, I want to ask you a question. Let's say I've been working all day long, work 6-7 days a week, middle income, the type of job I have, anybody can do. There's no boundaries. Everyone gets paid the same. That's my job. Now I get off work, I'm tired, worked all day. I go to get gas, and here's this black guy. You know, he's out there smoking a blunt, got all these tattoos. He can't even pull his pants up to where, you know, I have to look at his underwear. And he's going to come up to me and ask me, hey, you got some money, man? You know, okay, the first thing I'm thinking is, oh, great. Has nothing to do with the color of that guy's skin. It's his actions, the way he presents himself. Like, how am I out here busting my butt every day? How am I supposed to respect that person?
Okay, let me ask you a question, Eugene, because I think what happens there, right, is that I think you just made a whole lot of classic stereotypical statements, right? And
I'm asking you an honest question. Because
yes, and I know it's important.
To me all the time.
And let me tell you something, okay? It happens to you maybe because of your environment, maybe because of your surrounding. What gets me, right, and there's something that Jolanda said yesterday in her speech that I think, folks, that goes a far distance. She's been all over the state, all over the country, and spoken to people where people have never come across folks that don't look like them. But not only that, the only representation of people that they've seen is the negative stereotypes that we see even here in TV. Whenever you watch TV in Houston, let me finish.
I'm born and raised in Houston, man. I've been here.
I understand, sir. Let me finish, though, my friend. Let me finish. So what I'm saying is, it is easy to stereotype in your own domain. It is very easy. And not only that, if you're looking for some sort of reason to stereotype, it's there as well.
But I guess my question would be, why would the guy who's coming up with his pants hanging down, who doesn't have a job, why does he have to be black? I've seen people. I've seen Hispanic people with their pants dropped.
Let me say, look, Eugene, I'm gonna have to let you go, but let me just tell you before I let you go.
It's just an honest question.
Eugene, I know it's honest, but let me tell you, the reason I don't want to go into that is there's some socioeconomic pieces.
I'm talking about real stuff.
Eugene,
but that's still an honest job.
I work every day,
but it's still an honest job.
Eugene,
he's not jacking anybody.
No, Eugene, here's the deal.
He's not jacking anybody.
No, he's not even talking about him. He's talking about somebody else. You said this is a different. He's bringing up a different subject, an interesting subject. So, Eugene, it was a pleasure speaking to you, my friend. You call sometime when we are discussing socioeconomic values, okay? Anyway, let's go to line number 4. Line number 4, murders. Come on, James.
Yes.
We'll break after James.
It's about time that we separate as a people.
Mm-hmm.
Because when I wasn't getting along with my wife, we divorced. We separated and we get along just fine. This thing between white and black, it keep going on and on. They keep beating us up, kicking us in the teeth, kicking us in the butt, or whatever, stomping us, and coming, offering us some money. Here, go buy you something nice, lawsuits to give us some money. Next thing you know, they kicking and beating and punching us again.
Brother James,
Ain't going on for
I
too
get your
long.
point, but let me tell you something, Brother James. That is not a practical answer or a practical solution, okay?
It is practical. Great Britain just did it.
No, they didn't.
Wait, let me finish. They did it for the Jews coming out of Germany.
Mm-hmm.
And when somebody can't stop it, white people, that's so paranoid, they shouldn't have white police officers in black neighborhoods. There should be a no-ride zone.
Okay,
If they're
James.
Afraid, wait, let me finish. Black cops do the job every day without killing somebody. Anybody. Black
No,
cops
that's
don't
not
kill
true.
nobody.
Black
White
cops kill
that's
too.
Paranoid.
There are black cops who kill.
Wait. Let me finish.
Yes, sir.
They are that afraid they should not be allowed in black communities.
Okay, James, I got it. We're filled up, James. We're filled up. James, we're filled up.
Shot the boy in Missouri. He talking about he felt like a 5-year-old kid.
Right.
A grown man felt like a 5-year-old kid.
I hear you, James. James, I understand the passion.
Let me may I respectfully
ahead.
suggest something that we can do
Okay, go ahead.
that works. The first thing we have to do is we can't, I guess for lack of a better word, is like just pay attention to ourselves voting. Right? As I explained last night, I think you were talking about, Egberto, is at the end of the day, the legislators in Houston are not going to run the state of Texas. Legislators in Dallas are not going to run the state of Texas. Legislators in San Antonio are not going to run the state of Texas. There are legislators from across the state. And so people that live, and I said this last night, people who live in Houston and Dallas, those urban centers, which are places where, the truth is, that's what the diversity is. Those places have small numbers of legislators. The vast majority are from rural places, and it's not real diverse. And so every single solitary legislator in the 3 urban cities that I just said can vote our interests, and we still would not pass laws that are fair to the majority of people in Texas. It's not going to be until I talk to my family, for example, in Grand Coteau, Louisiana, or St. Martinville, Louisiana, and make them go vote so that we can have people from across the state of Texas or across the state of Louisiana and every other state, because a majority always wins. And that is the problem. And that's why we get frustrated, right? We'll go out and we'll vote, except for we didn't go to, College Station or Barber's Hill or all these other little places. And unless and until we figure out how to reach back into the communities that we come from, those small towns, because almost all of us didn't start off in Houston. I mean, I may have, but my grandmother and my great-grandmother left Louisiana to come to the big city. We need to get it across the board, even in small places, to vote for people who will pass legislation that is favorable to everybody and not special people.
James, I have to go to a break, but let me tell you, James, you have an interesting subject that I want to discuss. So keep listening to the show. We'll be touching on that subject and where I disagree with you on that. Okay, my friend?
Okay, please touch on it because nobody haven't touched on it yet.
Okay, thank you, James. You have a wonderful day, sir. We're going to break, and then we have to go with quick calls.
All right, thank you. Egberto, it is currently 99 degrees and partly cloudy skies here in the heart of Montrose. With Houston humidity around 50%, it feels like 109 out there. Currently in Galveston, it is 91 degrees and partly cloudy skies. And Huntsville is a partly cloudy 97 degrees. And in the forecast for this evening, it's mainly clear skies tonight and a low of 79. And partly cloudy tomorrow with 20% chance of precipitation and a high of 98 degrees. And let's take a brief look at our roadways. On the East Freeway, inbound, there's a heavy truck accident blocking the left lane and exit ramp to the North Freeway there, but traffic's not bad at the moment. Accident cleared on the North Loop eastbound at the Hardy Toll Road, but traffic remains backed up to Shepherd. And you're slow going on the Gulf Loop southbound from I-10 over to Evergreen, and on the Gulf Freeway inbound from Scott to around Cavalcade. That's a look at your Houston area weather and traffic. I'm Shannon McCurchie, and you are listening to KPFT Houston 90.1. Back to you, Egberto.
Muchísimas gracias. Okay, let's go to line number 2, supporting. Let's go to Brother John. How you doing, Brother John?
I'm doing fine, Egberto. How are you doing?
So far, talk to me, sir. But you know what? I'm having to limit everybody to 1 minute now because we're.
I hear you. First, I'd like to welcome Miss Yolanda to the show. And
Thank
say
you
hi to
so
Shannon.
much.
You know, it's just almost everybody who's talked is justification, Jim Crow. you know, just when you had no more tears, 2 more brothers got assassinated. Okay, it's got to stop. You're not going to change the hearts of these haters or the supremacists. Okay, that's the ghost of the ancestors or past. They're not going to get away from. But you could change everybody else's hearts who are not educated to this. And the best way, the quickest way to solution, since we've already got the group there, is to support Black Lives Matter groups wherever they are.
Thank you, man. I agree with.
How can I help? And
Look,
listen.
That's why I had Patrice on our show, because Patrice is the founder of Black Lives Matters. And,
great.
And
great,
I met her
yes.
at Netroots, and we went ahead and had that interview here, because a lot of people think, oh, you need to run away from this organization. No, we need to empower that organization. I know. You're a good brother, Brother John. So I thank you for calling. Got to go to the next call.
It takes all kinds. Otherwise, we'd all be alike. We'd all be robots.
You go, my brother.
Life would be boring.
Take care, Brother John.
Yeah. Goodbye, Shannon, and power to you. God bless you, and peace out, Yolanda.
Oh, thank you so much.
John.
Same to you.
Keep it alive. Gerrymandering. Get rid of that gerrymandering.
Okay, let's go to line number 5. Johnny, Johnny, come on in.
Oh, man, just when I thought depression would never leave, now it's been replaced by total disgust and anger. You have Baton Rouge, and then just a day or 2 after that,
Minnesota.
Up in Wisconsin, is it?
Minnesota.
When is this crap going to end? And I'll sound like a broken record or a broken CD, but it bears repeating. What we need to do is have a nationwide, comprehensive, psychological, and educational inventory conducted of all currently employed law enforcement. That's both city cops and county sheriffs. And we need to do it like yesterday, because what we got going is not sustainable. And if this stuff is allowed to go unchecked, more than what it is already, we're going to have a lot of serious social ills cropping up, and I don't mean just street fighting.
Thank you very much, Johnny. You're absolutely right. Now we have to go clip after clip with our callers because we're full. So thank you. Keep calling. You keep listening. Okay, let's go to Joe. Joe number 6. Come on in, Joe. Let's go to Joe number 1. Come on in, Joe.
Hey, Berto. How are you?
How you doing, my friend?
Hey, Joe.
Hey, good. I think the real problem is cops are bullies.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think people that have that personality that want to be a cop, they want to police other people and tell them all the things they're doing wrong and all that. I think those are the same guys that picked on little kids in playgrounds. They're just bullies. They like to pick on people. And we need to do a better job, like Johnny said. You need to have a better vetting process that goes through in law enforcement. They need to have a personality profile exam and find out, because I've talked to so many cops, and they're bullies. That's what it is.
Thank you very much, Joe.
I want to add this, because Egberto and I were talking about this during the break. I do not believe that every police officer is bad, and I'm one of the biggest vocalist people who target bad cops. What we need to do is we need to encourage a culture in law enforcement that commends officers who do well.
Absolutely.
Right now we don't have that. Right now, if an officer sees where one of his buddies is doing something wrong and he complains, all of a sudden he's ostracized, he's demoted. So you actually have some good cops who stay on the street. They can't get in the leadership because a certain kind of cop is promoted, and they're the ones that he's talking about. And so we need people who will stand up to the unions, who no matter what, doesn't matter what the shooting is, it's a good shooting. Even if the kid is a little kid out in the Hispanic area of town where they throw a gun.
Okay, I need to get more calls around. You're absolutely right, Yolanda. Joe, thank you for calling. Keep listening. Keep calling. Okay, my brother?
Thanks, Inspector.
Okay, let's go next to Joe. Joe, go ahead with your quick 2 forms of racism, and we have to do it quickly. Come on in, my brother.
Hey, good afternoon. It's always the case when I call. I have one direction I want to go, and then I hear 4 or 5 great phone calls. I just don't know where to begin.
Well, I got great callers. I can't help it, man.
Oh man! So some of my thoughts. When I initially called, I'm one who argues we live in a post-racial society. And people who think that Black Lives Matter, they really need to just stop, qualifying things, right? Because if you substitute black for white, right? Let's say that I've got the Black Employees Association of America, right? There's nothing racist about
Joe,
that. The black employees.
brother, I know.
The white employees Association.
Brother, I know where you're coming from, but I tell you what, I have a show coming up on privilege that I want you to be a star on that show, okay? I really do. And you keep watching my blog posts, because when I have that show, I want to remember who you are so that we can talk about it, because that requires a lot more speaking that we have the time for. Okay, my friend?
Listen, I'm Joe Big Oil, and I also want to say, forget voting. I want people to run for office, right?
Thank you. Maybe you are the one who gave me that advice once before.
Voting is cheap. Put your money where your mouth is and run for something.
All right, brother. Brother, I got to go. Brother. Have a good one, okay?
People who run for office wouldn't get elected if people didn't vote for them. So I think voting is super important.
Yeah, take care, Joe. Thank you. No, he's saying both. He just saying more people have to vote.
Okay.
Okay, let's go to line number 3. Now, let's go to Celise. Come on in, Celise. I've only got 30 seconds for you, my friend. Celise.
Hey, how you doing? This is Philippe, President, Harris County Young Democrats.
Yes,
Thank
sir.
you so much for talking about this today, and to my good friend Yolanda, to both of you.
Hey.
Really, I'm horrified that this has happened and continues to happen. And yes, voting is very important. Yes, running for office is very important as well. But, more of a question, Yolanda, what do you think? What's the message for young people? What's the message for young people who are disheartened by the process? And how can we get them motivated not just to vote, but what happens before we actually get them to the ballot box?
I think that young people have to learn the process. And once the young people learn the process, and it's got to be quick because they want everything in a microwave fashion, once we teach them how they can effectively make change, then I believe they will be motivated to do it. But they've got to believe that they can make change.
And I want to give you kudos because, yes, like I scan the internet. I always keep abreast of the activity that's going on, the activism that's going on. What you're doing and what you did with those kids, we have to have more of that occurring, and we have to have more people doing that. That is more important than you know.
One of the quick things I'd like to say, Egberto, I'd love to come back and just talk to people about the different branches or the different governmental entities and what they do, so that if you have a complaint, you can either run for it, vote for a person, and know where your problem can be fixed.
And we'll do that. We got to go to the other call. Thank you, Felipe, for calling, and we'll talk to you later. Keep listening, keep calling. Okay, my brother?
Absolutely.
All right, let's go to Shay. Come on, Shay, number 4. You got 30 seconds, Shay.
Hi, I was just calling because I was in Ferguson when that all happened, and it's true that young people, they have to get out, not only just vote, just start running for office, because the only way we're going to change this is if they start running for office. Get into those positions and start making some changes. If you start working from within the lower offices and you start going for those higher offices where we can able to make change. I'm tired of seeing a black man getting gunned down.
Shay,
every time I turn on TV.
Shay, that's why we're doing what we're doing. Thank you very much for those words. Okay, Shay?
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Have a wonderful day. Let's go to our calls. Stacy, line number 2.
Hi, how are you?
A minute and a half.
I would just like to address, add something to the killings, the shootings.
Yes, ma'am.
Bring to attention for both parties. Everyone is saying Black Lives Matter. I've heard a lot of negative things on the air. Callers saying, oh, you should forget about it. Leave it alone. It's in the past. I can agree to an extent, but this issue we've been seeing a lot.
We got to wrap it up.
There's a lot
15
of
seconds.
You got 15 seconds, Stacy.
Police, the police departments, they should get analyzed. They should have a psychological analyzations, records on them. And also, I think that could change is we need to be an example. That's the prime shift that we can do for change.
Thank you very much, Stacy.
For the black community, and then they will follow.
Thank you, Stacy.
The black community needs to be an example so others can be.
Thank you very much for your call. Thank you for your thoughts. You have to keep listening and calling. Thank you very much.
Right.
Look, Yolanda, it was a pleasure having you here. Thank you for coming in.
Having me.
But most importantly, not being here, but what you did yesterday. Keep up the good works.
Thank
Folks,
you.
my name is Egberto Willis, and this is the end of the show. Politics Done Right. You have a wonderful day. Adios.
Thank you very much for listening to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. You can personally reach me by sending an email to egberto@politicsdoneright.com. Remember, Egberto is spelled E-G-B-E-R-T-O. Change starts with you. 90.1 KPFT gives you information not tainted by corporate interest. Please visit kpft.org and contribute. Let's ensure continued access to real information and news remain available to all. Again, thank you very much for listening to Politics Done Right.